if as the leader you are not involved in this melodrama, then your members will try and toe the line. So I intend to do my very best to make sure that we hold government accountable, that there is value for money, and I'm glad that I've gotten the same, the same wording, the same narrative from colleagues on the committee. So we want to give it our very best. I'm
told it's a very tempting committee.
Oh yes, because you see, you're dealing with these powerful government entities that have plenty of money, much of which gets subsquatulated. It just grows wings and disappears. So if somebody cannot account for, let's say, 100 billion shillings, they would not have a problem to get 1 billion shillings to say, you know what, keep quiet over this matter. So we must be able to fight that. We cannot preach water and then drink wine.
I can see what a kind of responsibility that you have for yourself and your committee members. Honorable Danny Kimosho, I think this is the first time I'm hosting you as a member of parliament. The last time I did, you were speaking from Milago. I must congratulate you, sir, for having won the seat for Kazo County. But I also understand you are in the run for the publicity sector of the NRM.
Yes.
So we wish you luck on that.
Yeah, thank you, Kamara. And dear viewers, of course, it's the first time, and thank you for the courtesy to invite us. And yeah, tomorrow we have caucus, and we'll be selecting the leadership of the caucus. And by the way, repressing the late Honorable Kasamba. I will be selecting one of us to go to Yara. Yeah, it's a busy day tomorrow, and yeah, we'll give it our best. God willing, we'll come out the way we expect.
All right, gentlemen, let's now get into the real business for tonight, and which is the COVID-19 response strategy of government. I want to know from your own point of view how this is going. And let me begin with you, the Honorable Joel Ssenyonyi. If the lockdown was meant...
it sounds strange whenever you call me Honorable Joel Ssenyonyi.
Yes, that's what you are.
Just the other day we were colleagues here.
I know.
I was producer of this very show.
Yeah.
So it sounds very weird in my ears, but I'll get used to it.
You get used to it. That's what you subscribe for.
Anyhow.
The people of Nakawa. So, if the lockdown was meant to contain the rate of transmission of the disease of COVID-19, results indicate that now transmission or rate has come down to 8.2%. At one point it was over 20%. So in other words, lockdown is working. But in your view, what else should the government or those who are in charge of the response strategy be doing in these 42 days after cutting the infection rate? But we need to do more. What should be done?
Ugandans generally, whenever they are faced with a challenge, which is life-threatening, they'll try and reflect, and they'll alter their modus operandi, their way of doing things. That normally will happen, even when there is no lockdown. Majority of the people will try and be careful. When there is a lockdown, again, there will be those who will go all over and do lots of things and so on. So, yes, the lockdown does help. And that's why Ugandans actually embraced it from the very first time in March 2020, because they knew this is for our good. It's going to try and ameliorate the situation. But you see, when you put a lockdown in place, and we have said this severally, we're about to sound like broken records. When you put a lockdown in place, there are attendant issues that arise. Many of our people earn a daily income. They're not able to. Are we catering for these matters? I don't think that we have adequately done so. I'll talk about the vaccine. Maybe let me begin that way before the livelihood issues. On the health front, I think that there are challenges. Dan is on that committee that's been moving around the country trying to ascertain how things moving and so on. They go to hospitals, find there's no beds, doctors are absent because the doctor, you find one hospital has one doctor. He's been working 3 days non-stop. He's tired. He has to go home and rest a little and so on. There's all these issues. And I think we have been slow on these matters. We are coming to close to 2 years. Money has been disbursed by Parliament, supplementaries and so on. But you do not see this money. You don't. That healthcare workers are saying we don't have PPEs. I saw them talking to these guys and telling them, please help us. We don't have what to use. We are going to stop working, not because we don't want to attend people, but because we are catching the virus too. We have lost over 15 health workers in a period so short. And many of them are saying it's because they don't have a way to protect themselves. Why aren't we dealing with these matters? and I saw the major issue we had to discuss here, vaccination. I think that we have been extremely slow on this front too. We goofed up, and yes, so government keeps saying, yeah, there is challenges globally. Yes, there are challenges, but you see, we goofed up at the very start, and I'm not even too sure we are trying to rectify that. You don't see serious action in that. We made an order in India, the Serum Institute of India, and we were meant to pay $165 million, I believe it was. And we decided to be typical Ugandans. These guys, no, let's just put $5 million, But you see, the way it operates, whoever has the money gets the vaccines. So there are those who are very quick to pay up, and they go to the front of the queue. And so we slow down on many of these things, and we keep giving excuse after excuse. I think we must get to a point where we say, you know what, enough of the excuses.
Honorable Danny Kimosho,
can we take action?
Lockdown alone is not enough unless you have a plan to benefit from those 42 days of lockdown. Like Joel is saying, you maybe ramp up the vaccine process, maybe try to make sure the hospitals have PPEs, make sure there's a community engagement strategy, so that we benefit, not only just to put us into some kind of lockdown, but we benefit from those 42 days of our preparedness. How far have we gone now that you had the opportunity to travel around the country?
Thank you very much again. Lockdown, like you say, can only be a temporary measure. And this temporary measure only gives us space to plan better. Now, it is true that the percentages, the infection percentages are going down. And that is really welcome. COVID is a monster, and it has caused mayhem. So when you hear the news of infections coming down, you certainly get excited. But this should help us focus on three major things, in my view. Of course, we have moved around. There are challenges, cross-cutting challenges in the facilities, insufficient PPEs, insufficient oxygen, and there are other factors that, of course, had not come to the front. Transport, surveillance. Yes, some areas have surveillance teams, but then how do they move? Now, in my own analysis of the events, we need to focus on like three things. One, vaccination. My honorable colleague put it, we had booked with Serum Institute, and then money delayed. I understand. They appropriated money for vaccines. Unfortunately, it was being escorted with some other money, is it? For land compensation and something, which was not clear. Then they took a long time to investigate the money for land, then taking long to release the money for vaccines. You see, even when actually at times we be blaming the Ministry of Health and the rest, when you do a tracer, to trace backwards, you find the problem is even rooted in different direction. Now, by the time they released this money, certainly, because of competition, India had been hit by the fourth wave. There was nowhere in the world to buy medicine, and Serum Institute had stopped exporting. And here we are stuck. Now, we need to vaccinate. That is one strategy. And that one, we should not debate about it, even if it means closing 3 sectors so as to be able to raise money to vaccinate a significant number of Ugandans, and we are able to build herd immunity, that we should not negotiate with anyone. 2, we should clearly plan on how to manage home care, what we call home care. In our tours, we realize that yes, people are testing, but when they are tested, they are told to go back home and treat themselves from home, especially for those with mild cases and asymptomatic ones. Now, I am requesting Ministry of Health to put up a method and a mechanism of surveillance that will follow up these cases. Now, and this mechanism should come with an increase in the medicines, that when the surveillance teams are going to visit these people, they are going with medicines. not on medicines, oximeters, to measure their oxygen levels, to give them medicines. And we should consider as a country to put money aside for psychosocial support. COVID apparently has a serious mental effect. People that get COVID need to be supported psychologically in terms of counseling. That's why I was telling someone, I've just from some other medias, and I was telling them, someone was blaming Ministry of Health for buying vehicles. And I told them, if you think they bought vehicles, is it 280? That is nothing. Because I can tell you with the numbers, like in my place, I'm from Kazo, like you clearly put it. You have a household. They have 2 rooms. The house has 2 rooms. You are telling them to isolate. It is a family of 13 people. Where are they going to isolate? In a tree? Certainly they will all get infected. And certainly you must prepare to treat the 13. And that will happen across.
That is not any different from Kampala's informal settlements, because there could even be more.
Certainly.
And the space could only be just 1 room.
That's why I'm saying, then we must clearly plan for home care. And we put surveillance teams in place. We put sufficient means of transport in place for these surveillance teams. Then the other thing was the issue of beds. They are called high dependency beds, the ICUs. And the HDUs and
different. There's the high
dependency
ICU
and ICU ones. Yes. Before we left, we had a breakdown from Ministry of Health that they had bought the beds. And they had installed the beds in some of these facilities. And oh yes, for example, in Western, the breakdown they gave us clearly resonated with the numbers in the facilities. But one challenge then, there are no human resource, there are no people to run these beds. So they actually remain beds physically without people to run them.
Okay, let's go back to the vaccine, Joel, because where we are right now, even if you have the money, because we missed that train of getting the vaccine much earlier. So now we're in the queue with others. Even if you have the money, it may not help you, because the question now is not about money, the question is more about supply. I have seen other developed countries also struggling. In fact, even the United States is yet to reach 70% vaccination of our people. Maybe only Israel reached about 90 plus. So we are still a long way in getting vaccine, aren't we?
Yeah, without a doubt. But then again, it's because we have refused to think out of the box. So yes, our focus is AstraZeneca. Our focus is, getting through the COVAX facility, which means we make part payment, and the other is subsidized, generally speaking, But look at Kenya, for example. I think by end of, is it October, they'll have had in over 13 million doses, not vaccines. There's actually a difference, but doses. So the people are reaching out. South Africa is doing the same thing. There's others, Johnson and Johnson.
Yeah, by October also we could have taken some spikes.
Pfizer and so on. But where's the proof to show that we are moving in that direction? So I think it's because many times we keep thinking, wait a minute, should we be spending this money? A miracle might happen and this thing dies away. So let's keep, waiting a little. That's how we operate. I believe in miracles, but I'm also a very practical person. You've heard Honorable Dan talk about money was delayed because it was meant to come with land money and so on. I don't think that's true. Whoever told you that was obviously lying to you. But even if that is to be true, why have we refused to prioritize this issue? Whenever we need money for lots of things, supplementary for State House, it is always passed with relative ease and with immediacy. There's no emergency in State House. This is an emergency situation. Why aren't we treating it as such?
But at the moment, what I've heard from the Minister of Health and other people is that it's not a question of money anymore. It's a question of supply. That the money has been appropriated, it's available as we speak.
And for me, I'm saying, so yes, I'm tethering it to the fact that we goofed up because we were very slow. We are very slow at doing things. Now I said, yeah, the money that time, they delayed it and so on. We were slow. Why? God knows. But also, there's other entities that we can reach out to, because we have decided
do you understand the fact that we are buying drugs from the Serum Institute of India? Yes, we are slow, but they were actually hit hard than we've been hit by COVID-19. You can actually see, even though they're in the process of making the vaccine themselves.
Yeah, but
So it's not that simple.
But many other countries got from them because they were on time. They realized this thing is serious. Let's take it serious. They went ahead of us, paid money, and they got vaccines from the same place that you're talking about. So the question here is prioritization, that we have refused to prioritize. When you look at our budget, for example, it shows you where the priority areas are. That you have, and I keep talking about this, I'm about to shout myself hoarse, and people keep saying, but Ssenyonyi, you're sticking to that thing of classified. Yes, because the taxpayer is paying for it. And it's not justifiable that you'll have 3.8 trillion shillings as classified. For heaven's sake, are we at war? And yes, like I'm saying, this sounds repetitive, you know, because I keep saying it wherever, because I want people to get it, that there's a problem with our priorities as a country. That your priority is security. I want us to be secure. Every country has classified, but that budget must be justifiable. This one is not. The real war, in my view, is a health war. How much are we allocating to the ICU beds? We have 218 ICU beds in Uganda. For 44 million people, are you kidding me? How is that supposed to work? I saw Mr. Museveni the other day chastising Jane Ruth Acheng, Honorable, and others, and saying, I told people to make sure we have 42,000 beds. Of course, they didn't speak back at their boss. But in my mind, I was thinking, you're the Minister of Finance. How much did you allocate for these beds? You know? So we need to tweak our priorities, for heaven's sake. Doctors have not been paid their allowances, and other health workers, you know? And again, he was on TV. And he called Dr. Diana Twine, come and explain this issue of allowances. He said, no, it's just the allowances. Their salaries have been paid. He said, oh, okay. So if it is allowances, it's okay. Government is keeping for you these allowances. You will get them whenever. In fact, you will get it lump sum. But they're saying we need the money now. You, when you want money for State House, you run to Parliament supplementary. You don't say, let me wait. Why are you telling these healthcare workers who already are earning little? You're saying, you wait, relax. We are collecting it for you. Are you a bank? They're saying they need their money now. They're saying they want PPEs now. So now priorities.
I know you talked about the issue of the 42,000 beds, and you said you went around the country to see the beds and all that. There has been a talk that actually the 42,000 beds, what was brought was basically about 3,000 beds. What's the actual number? What's the actual procurement that you are able to tell us?
I think the report that we got from Ministry of Health is that we have around 3,000 beds. Now, I need to recollect my mind, but I am sure the numbers that they gave us for Western, because I moved in Western part, I did not cover the whole country. We are divided in 4 regions. The numbers that they gave us for Western region clearly resonate with what is on ground. However, the challenge is, even when they resonate, or even when the exact numbers, the challenge is that there are no health workers to use these beds. But something slight that I want to, when we are looking at COVID, I think we look at it in a broader context of the region. I have heard people say that Kenya is doing well. Kenya has only vaccinated 2.7%. It's on record. You can
and
check.
Uganda has vaccinated what percent?
3%.
How many are those?
3%. South Africa is at 6.7, I think, percent. Ethiopia is at 1.8 something percent. Tanzania, it's not on record. It's not on the chat room to be considered for whatever they have done. I think Rwanda is ahead of us by some percentage. So even when we are saying Kenya is getting, it is still a prospect. And that's why I wanted to go to your point. What do we do next? I would really want a situation where, as a country, as a government, we select a high-power delegation, engage a manufacturer physically, agree with them, put money on the table. This is an emergency situation.
So you're imagining that other countries are not doing the same, because many countries have more money, have put money on the table, and they're engaging them. Because at the end of the day, it depends on who has come first. If you are behind the queue, you'll stay behind the queue, because the issue is not money. Nations have put money to these institutions that are making vaccines.
Apparently, even what we call the scarcity of vaccines is not in the real scarcity. Some people and some businessmen at that level have turned COVID into a business. And they tend to pay the manufacturers and hold the vaccine. And that's why we come in as government and identify who is this real person that we can negotiate with, put man on table. Because there's been, the other challenge is that actually it is not exactly that there is shortage, but the available one is very expensive. And I'm saying, even when we think it's expensive, it is something that we should buy at whatever cost and bring it for our people. And my argument is that we must move out of our comfort zone, get a very serious high-power delegation, engage, identify sources, engage them purposely within a targeted time, and make sure that we get this vaccine in the country. Even if you, and I have said it, and I can repeat it, even if you propose that we close 4 sectors of this economy for a start, and use that money to bring in this vaccine, however expensive it is, but then we build high immunity by vaccinating many, and then we're able to open.
You're from the health background.
It's interesting. He actually now is seeing the point I'm making, that it's not just a question of money, it's because we have refused to prioritize. Yes, it's more costly now, but if we decided that this is a priority, and we injected money there, because we are injecting money elsewhere, which I don't think is a priority, inject money there, get people vaccinated. I mean, we are watching matches, football elsewhere and so on. The stadiums are full like this. People don't have masks. Why? Because they have done their due diligence. They have done what they ought to have done. Let's do that. Inject a bit of money and then open up the economy and people get back to work. People would not even be crying out to government and saying, please give us a little money. They know how to work for themselves, the vast majority of them. But they're saying, you have locked us up. We are at home. We can't make any money. Let's buy those vaccines. Yes, it's a bit more costly, but let's prioritize
then if we
get people vaccinated and then open up.
If we get the vaccine in Uganda is one step, but also there's a problem of vaccine hesitancy from some people who are going to be reluctant to take the drugs. And by the way, some of them could be saying so because they have seen government officials harass them. They have seen government officials, in cases during the election, torture them. If they sort of have no faith and trust in the government, are they going to take your vaccine?
You see, issues of COVID, it started as a joke. Actually, you remember some people are saying this is political, there's nothing like COVID. But recently, if you remember, I used to pass by Korolo, that airstrip. When they told people to come and vaccinate, that place was full. For the rest of the time, they had provided. I can tell you, if we got the vaccine today, even if it was for 100% to vaccinate Ugandans, the feeling, what people have gone through, the agony of losing our own beloved ones, the effect that has been, at least whoever has not lost someone has had a story of a neighbor or a friend who has lost someone. I think this has nothing to do with the government, whether you have confidence or you do not have confidence. I mean, after all, it's not a Ugandan government manufactured medicine. This is a global issue. It's a health issue. For me, you have this medicine here, everyone will be running to get it. And anyway, Mr. Kamara, who says Ugandans don't have confidence in their government? I think there is a section of Ugandans who will be discontent, even in a family. You will find a child grumbling out of any other reason. And it's granted. Some people will certainly be disgruntled for other reasons, or for their reasons, or for genuine reasons. Others will realize that things certainly have issues, but we can still put them straight, and they will stay put and work to put things right. So it cannot be a blanket statement that Ugandans do not have confidence in their government. Absolutely not.
I'm sure there will be some of those. You'll ask all those guys, for example, who were the other day incarcerated. You'll ask all those people who were whipped on the streets of Kampala. You'll ask all those who were harassed. You'll ask all those who have had to suffer the wrath of government. And if the same government brings the vaccine, I can imagine in my mind they will have to think.
No, but you see, first take it away from the political actors. You know, the other day all of us walked with news of 800 plus jabs that had been given, fake jabs. That was very concerning to everybody. Because you're there thinking, so Dan, you have taken this jab, are you sure you're not one of the 800 plus, you know, and so on. So it is actually beyond the politics of, yes, mistrust with government. I mean, that is in place, yes. But again, the sheer incompetence, you know, not following systems, not doing things right, and then you have fake jabs, numerous ones, you know, that are out there being given. So it sends a message to people, because many people will now begin to think, wait a minute, I took this jab. What was I injected
well,
with?
800 is what was discovered. There could have been much more.
Without a doubt. So
I think
all these are gaps that we need to close, you know. So the mistrust, for me, is beyond the politics.
Okay.
Because many of those who are now doubting could even be NRM
To the contrary, my
supporters.
colleague.
But they're saying now these fake jabs. How do we deal with
To
this?
the contrary, my honorable colleague, you see, the issue is talking about. It is part of the elitism that has also happened. That when they announce a vaccine in Kololo, because I am a Chimosho, I would say I will not go to Kololo. Who will go in that sign?
But people have been going to Kololo and bouncing because the vaccines run out.
And then, out of that elitism, people think they can cut corners to even very obvious and serious things where someone is not supposed to cut corners.
No, I think, Dan, you're being disingenuous here. People are going to Kololo.
You listen to me.
And let me just give you this information as you continue submitting. We have been watching even on this, you know, news here at NTV. People go to Kololo. Somebody tells you, I have walked from Nansana to Kololo. I saw that. I think which week was it? Here on NTV Akaungezi. I walked from Nansana to Bigere because, you know, cars are not moving. I came here to Kololo to get a jab, but I reached and I was told it is finished. So why would people, and again, that goes to show government is not doing what it's supposed to do. Then people look elsewhere.
Because the people he's talking about are not the people that got the 800 jabs.
Fake jabs.
The fake jabs, those that got fake jabs are the corporate guys. And they read the institutions. And it is what I'm telling him, and it is the culture that is cropping up, the elitism culture. And this was happening during the yellow fever. You remember when yellow fever, you are required to have yellow fever to travel, even up to now.
I know some places.
And people were buying, the elites were buying yellow fever cards, even when it was free, or you would pay even 70,000. Actually, they would buy a book at 70,000 or 80,000, and yet getting a genuine one was even cheaper. The elitism, I will not take it. It will affect me. I read it on social media. Oh yes, government may have inefficiencies. It may have its challenges. But also, we should not condone.
Okay.
But you see, Dan, you should actually be in 30 seconds. Dan should be apologizing because you see, those elites, they're seeing it has run out in Kololo and elsewhere. Now they have dug deep in their pockets to get it elsewhere. It is fake because government has not made sure there are controls, and you're blaming them. You should be apologizing to them on behalf of your government instead of blaming them. What did you want them to do? Because the centers where these are being distributed free, they ran out.
There's one thing.
Well, they went where they could get the jabs and they were given fake ones.
There's one thing I noticed. I took my first jab earlier on and worked in Zambia Hospital. And the first day I went, actually there were more foreigners in the queue. Than Ugandans. Actually, one Ugandan asked, is it our day? I can see, is it today working on us or they are working on these people? And then I said, this thing is all of you. It's only that you guys don't want to get into the line.
So we are saying it's good you got a fake jab because you didn't get it earlier.
I'm trying to explain to you that at the beginning, there were no lines because when I took
the lines are there now because it's more serious.
In fact, foreigners, what I saw, foreigners were lining up and there were no Ugandans.
Oh,
one of the Ugandans who was in Zambia that day was asking,
actually,
are we getting our jobs today?
Mr. Kamara, my point, Honorable Ssenyonyi, is that let's not condone people who are cutting corners on serious issues. And the issue is rising. When this vaccine came, I have very close relatives that have refused to take this jab, even when I have pleaded with them. But now they have been affected and they are all crying, when are we getting the next supply?
Okay, Dan and Joel,
so
hold on to your points, gentlemen.
Here,
hold on to your points, gentlemen, because we're going to take a break. And on the spot, we'll be right back.
Where to find a home in this hustling world? A home with a well-organized environment and security. A home with the smile of family and laughter of kids. We have everything needed for a home in Mirembe Villas, Chigo. We offer apartments at 200 million, payable in 2 years at 0 interest. Apartments with 3 rooms to help you build a home in this gated community to enjoy Lakeview with your family. By paying a 6 million shilling monthly installment, you could be your own landlord. Mirembe Villas, Chigo.
The Universal Periodic Review, UPR, is a mechanism under the United Nations where member states review each other's human rights situation every 4 years. It's a voluntary process where all states are treated as equal partners.
The ultimate aim of the UPR is to improve on the human rights situation in all countries through technical assistance and cooperation.
The UPR is a state-driven process, and as such, the preparation of the report is done by an interministerial committee on human rights that is chaired by Foreign Affairs. We value stakeholder input in the process and therefore appreciate the role of civil society in the third cycle of the UPR process.
To this effect, the National Coalition of Human Rights Defenders Uganda, a civil society organization, is coordinating all civil society organizations to participate in this process of the alternative reporting in liaison with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Uganda.
The day the world stopped was the day we found where to go. From now on, we are not going to leave anything on our plates because we've learned to savor the moments that were always there, and they never tasted this good.
Do your gums hurt? Yeah. Does your toothpaste contain sage, eucalyptus, myrrh, chamomile?
All that in one toothpaste?
Yes, try Colgate Herbal. Colgate Herbal contains nature's best herbs and Colgate's fluoride technology to give you strong teeth and healthy gums.
Ah, Colgate Herbal.
Colgate Herbal for strong teeth and healthy gums naturally. Now introducing new Colgate Charcoal Gently Clean for a naturally fresh and clean mouth.
Daily Monitor and European Union delegation to Uganda bring you yet another fun-filled, exciting 8-part series of the comic book Tessa and Luca. It's a fun-filled series with exciting experience of Tessa and Luca as they travel to Germany and experience fun and unforgettable adventures. So many lessons to learn, so many imaginations to have. It's worth the read. Don't let the kids miss out on this educative and entertaining book. Grab your copy every Tuesday in the Rainbow magazine.
Hey, now that's hitting the right notes. When life gets boring, we bring out our play. You see, playfulness is in our DNA. It's in the way we move and laugh. It's in the way we walk, the way we rock, and how we just don't stop. You feel me? We add color to everything, to every day and every dish, because the world needs our crazy. We're the different flavors that make life more exciting. We're the ones who add color to every moment. Fanta, color every moment.
Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Amara. My guests tonight are Honorable Dan Kimosho, Member of Parliament representing Kazo County, and Honorable Joel Ssenyonyi representing Nakawa West. Nakawa West. Okay, I just want to look into the issue of what COVID has actually exposed in terms of the insane medical bills that Ugandans have to pay. And by the way, the situation has almost been like that, only that it had not been exposed. Even earlier on, if somebody fell sick and went to one of those major hospitals and spent a week there, if you're not really among those who are privileged, you may have to sell your land and everything goes. So isn't it about time, Mr. Kimosho, that we start thinking about a universal healthcare insurance kind of scheme that can help Ugandans? Because I don't understand. People are paying through the nose, only even those who can manage, but there are those who cannot even think about going to the hospital because the bill alone, you're like, it's so prohibitive, you decide to sit down and die.
You see, the challenge is, it is very painful. The bills in private hospitals, it's a very painful process. And you see, it also explains the moral breakdown. Because if you go to a health center or a facility around with a COVID patient and they tell you to deposit 10 million before the patient gets to the hospital. Remember, this is a patient By the time you're taking them or the patient to the hospital, most likely they are desaturating, the oxygen levels are low. The quickest thing, the smallest time I worked in Mulago, the procedure is that when someone comes in, it doesn't matter if I come in and I'm average okay, and Kamara comes in 20 minutes and he's bad off. They will first work on Kamara who is bad off and save a life. I think that is the medical ethic. That is the medical standard. Now, things go so berserk in the moral.
Entirely true about Mulago?
That is entirely true, by the way.
Why are you still speaking like their PRO?
That is entirely true. Because you see, Joel, they is speaking from the rhetoric and they speaking from the experience.
Those people watching us, they have better experiences of Mulago than yourself.
Not at
and
all.
Of course, other government
I worked
hospitals.
in Mulago for 2 years, 24 hours. At any time, they would wake you up. And you'd have to go and attend to a problem or a challenge. And recently, Honorable Ssenyonyi was giving testimony of Mulago. And I can tell you, even in this recent COVID situation, there is nowhere where you'll get the best treatment for COVID that is better than Mulago in this country. Even if you go to these hotel standards in the name of hospitals, they get stuck with them and refer them to Mulago. Now, the issue, Honorable Ssenyonyi has diverted me from my point. But the issue I was making is that the moral breakdown that is demonstrated is for a doctor to first ask for a deposit of 10 million. One of our colleagues was telling us in the committee that...
Well, that could also be not a doctor, but somebody else in the administration, not entirely doctors, because the doctor is in their room doing their part, maybe just is getting his salary and that's it.
Oh, of course, they will tell you not touch your patient. And for us, we have not gone to look for a finance person, we have gone to look for a doctor. So it's the point of reference in this. And if he was not there, wouldn't have gone anyway. Our colleague was telling us he took the uncle and he was forced to deposit 6.5. The uncle died 5 hours later. And the guy pleaded with them and told them, okay, refund some, at least any figure that you feel you're comfortable with. And they told him, please give us a break. 5 hours at 6.5. Anyway, so my appeal, and I think what we should do, is for Ministry of Health to take on the matter more seriously. The guidelines are actually in place. They only need to supervise the private clinics and hospitals more seriously. And dental and medical practitioners should also take their mandate and role more seriously. And I mean, this would help us. I was telling someone, if you go to other countries, you'll find that for every medicine on the shelf, the price tag, it is marked with a price tag. Like when you go, at least I've been to India, other countries, South Africa, if you want to buy medicine, you present your prescription from a doctor, they pick the medicine from the shelf, and it has the price tag. You don't need to negotiate with anyone. And that helps because when the supervisors, the regulators come, it is easy to know who is overpricing. So those are some of the things. But secondly, we need to regulate some of the actions. For example, self-prescription. You know, in this COVID situation, people have resorted to buying medicine and keep it at home. As when they feel they have cough, they swallow. When it goes without testing. And of course, when you go deep into that, it causes resistance.
Okay. Joel, what would be your prescription in terms of helping Ugandans get some kind of a health insurance scheme? Can't it be through Parliament so that somebody brings up a bill and then money is put there? After all, we are sticking to the Abuja Declaration that commits us as a country to put about 15% of our budget into health, but we never, I think we have hovered around 8 or something like that. What can we do? Because this has shown us that, you know, accessing medical care is a Herculean task.
So I was speaking to somebody yesterday in my constituency who has not been feeling too well, you know, so they called me and asked them how it has been and so on. Said I'm not well, and so I asked them, did you test? So they're telling me, you know, they've been taking some medicines here and there, and I was discouraging them from doing self-prescription. You know, I told them, please make sure I go test. And so, have you had a test? And so they said, you know, I don't have money to do a test. And so on. So, so when I hear people like Dan blaming people, saying, you know, many of you are doing self-prescription and so on, people are in a lockdown, they are broke. How much is testing for COVID-19 in this country? You know, it's very pricey. So when they feel a bit unwell, and I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, but the fellow is thinking, hey, a COVID test, the cheapest is 100,000 shillings. They're looking for 20K to buy food for their family at home, you know. So these are real challenges that we must face as leaders, as opposed to glossing over these issues. I'll get to the health, you know, insurance issue in a bit. But the other that Honorable Chimosho has been talking about of the expenses, and anyway, it's intertwined with that idea. You see, it's very easy for us to sit here and postulate even. But what is on ground? So Ugandans have for a very long time been crying about the cost of healthcare in this country. We have not paid attention. For a very long time they kept saying Mulago services are free. Yeah, but you see, for one to go and get free medication, you'll be attended to after a day or so, you're being given painkillers. And you know, let it not seem like I'm just attacking Mulago. Government hospitals countrywide, you'll be given a bed if there's one, or you'll be on the floor like it is in Kaempe Hospital, in Naguru Hospital, in my constituency, and you'll be there for over 24 hours. You're being given painkillers, you've not been attended to. Because you don't have money, you come for a free service. But when you have money, of course there is a private wing at Mulago. You know, everybody with money goes and pays. These guys are now using the example of Honorable Ssenyonyi. You're using part of the example. The man told us because he had money, he could afford to pay. He was not in the queue of those who were waiting to be attended to freely. So healthcare in this country has been very expensive for a very long time.
Honorable Ssenyonyi, it is only 2% that goes to private health facilities. Roughly 2% that goes to these high-end health facilities. So you are saying, how do the rest survive if government facilities are not working?
No, I'm actually making the point that people who go to government health facilities because they can't afford elsewhere, they go through a lot. Many of them die before their due date, and we keep saying God has called them. I'm a born-again Christian. I know that God many times is not in the business of let me just call this one. It's because we are reckless. It's because we have refused to do what we ought to do. So for me, it's bigger than what we are looking at now. Of course, now it has hit many of us hardest, you know. That Dan Kimosho, you're having many of your close people, corporates and so on, calling you and saying, hey, I have this bill of 20 million, Honorable Ntasa, help me. And now you have woken up to that reality. But healthcare is very expensive in this country for the vast majority of Ugandans who are poor. You were talking about the Abuja Declaration. We refused to put it into play because we have refused to prioritize health. We have refused. So government has refused.
One of your jobs as members of parliament is to appropriate. I wonder whether members of parliament can use their weight in terms of appropriation so that money goes to where Ugandans are going to benefit. If they cannot, then you don't pass the budget. Is that a possibility?
You see, for a very long time we have had a rubber stamp parliament. I was speaking to some colleagues, some friends in the NRM and telling them, guys, I hope you be different for the sake of the country, because yes, government brings all these allotments and parliament, boom, just rubber stamps, you know, no proper thought process, no proper debate. Even when it is, voices of reason are shut down, and it is for the good of everybody, you know, because all of us go to these hospitals, whether you're NRM, NUP like myself and others. And so when I say that let's put more money in health, I'm not saying let's give money to NUP people. I'm saying no, let's help Ugandans regardless of where they belong, because in your village, Kazo, you know, even your supporters who are broke, they'll go to a government health facility. So if there's no medication there, they'll not be attended to. And that's the point we are making. So, and we prioritize this issue. So it has not been that way. And that's the challenge. Let me finish this point, Patrick. So now the situation there is with the private ones, because now, yes, people are running there because they can't access it elsewhere. But also, so I've had chance to, you know, the Baganda said to Salagwaka Waranga Tunawulira Gwakalenzi. So I do not in any way condone these exorbitant, pricings of healthcare. I know one or two people that have personally that have been grappling with this, and I'm thinking, no, this is not right. But I had some of them, I had the engagement with some of them, and anyway, they have been all over. And they're saying, look, we buy this oxygen from government. It is expensive. Somebody has got to meet the bill. Now, here is me trying to understand them. Not to in any way condone what they're doing, but say, look, let me hear you guys. What are you saying? So they buy oxygen from government. It is very costly. Setting up these ICU beds and so on, importing all these things, the heavy taxes, etc., etc. So looks like government needs to cushion them too, so that we don't give them any excuse. Now they have an excuse, which they are throwing all over and saying, oh, this is expensive, the other, and so on. Can we cushion them? We give all these tax holidays to foreign investors who come here. We give them a tax holiday of 25 years. There's a time there was that list in Parliament. Of late, of course, yes, we give them land. Of late, we're even guaranteeing them money. You remember the Loboa Hospital saga? You're given land and then you're guaranteed money, but you're an investor. So if we are guaranteeing you money, yet you're saying you're coming to invest money here, what kind of investor are you? So if we can do these things, for all these different people, why don't we do it for healthcare? So that the private players, now we divorce that excuse from them. So that they don't give the excuse of, you see, these things we bring in, they're heavily taxed, oxygen is expensive that we buy from government and so on. Let's give them no reason to charge people high.
I think, my honorable colleague, one, it should be on record that all medicines and medical supplies are zero tax. They are not taxed at all.
That's not true for all these gadgets they bring in. So you're talking about medicine and medical supplies.
And medical supplies.
But all these gadgets they bring and
as long as it is medical, that we can be on record, it is zero tax.
I wish we can open up the lines for some of these healthcare providers to call and tell us.
I engaged them. There is even a whole list. It was still for COVID. There is a list by International Customs Union exempting all PPEs from any single tax. They are not taxed at all. That is on record. You can cross-check. Two, the taxes that health centers pay, these hospitals, it is on the profit, it is income tax. Not that they pay VAT or the rest of the things, not at all. Now, it is true that we can cushion them on some areas, utilities maybe, oxygen, because even when they're saying oxygen is expensive, how much do they buy it? And how much?
Yeah, and they're telling you that now a COVID-19 patient consumes,
they say
five times more.
Five
so
cylinders
they're using a lot more
of 7.5 cubic meters.
And so that's what I'm saying.
Like
cushion them, take away that excuse.
That's what I'm
government.
saying. You see, they wouldn't have cushioned them on oxygen when it was not an essential originally, as it is now. I mean, it has become an essential because of COVID. Originally, out of 100 in a hospital, 1% would need oxygen or less.
Yeah, but we have been at this for weeks. And as we speak right now,
if you remember,
it is still expensive.
If you remember, in the first wave, there was no outcry of these exorbitant charges.
No, Dan, we are talking about these past weeks.
The outcry has come in this second wave. And if you remember, we first saw a bill of 129 million after 2 weeks of the second wave. So, you want to tell me that it is anywhere that someone will be charged 129 million in health? We have been taking people to India here, fundraising for people, for kidney transplants, including tickets, staying in India, including the caretakers, and you realize the bill would maximally go to 150 million. You're talking about 1 or 2 weeks in Kampala, and someone is being charged 129 million in 2 weeks or less, and you think the problem has anything to do with whether you're cushioned or not. This is totally a moral breakdown that we must examine. And oh yes, if we find the areas that we must cushion, then we do. But the origin of these exorbitant charges is not within the strains or the constraints that health facilities maybe are going through. It has a lot to do with exploiting the situation, and I can only appeal to them that we need to re-examine the situation. And yes, if government must, for example, cushion, they cushion, but they also show us, if you cushion, how much will it reduce?
And that's the point. Begin by cushioning, and then you give them no excuse. That's the point that I'm making. Now you're giving them an excuse, which they keep throwing all over the place and so on. Let government play its part. But for me, the bigger bulk of the issue, I'm saying, can we make health care available to the vast majority of Ugandans, you know? And look, I don't intend to sound insensitive, you know, because I also know one or two people personally that have gone through this heavy bill thing, yeah? But you see, aside from that category that we must attend to, I'm looking at the people in the ghettos of Bukoto 1, Mulimira, in Naguru, in Banda, who cannot even, for starters, get to a point of that heavy bill because they will not go to that private healthcare facility.
Okay.
When they go to that Naguru hospital, that government hospital, are they attended to?
All right,
I don't think we are paying attention.
Hold on to your point there. And Dan, because we're going to take a break, and when we come back, I'm going to open the line so that you too can be a part of this discussion. You're going to see the numbers on your screen. You can pick your phone and call. And should you disagree with the gentleman in the studios, you can do that. It's acceptable, but disagree with respect. We'll be right back.
The rise in COVID-19 cases has led to the suspension of inter-district travel by both private and public transport means for 42 days. With Nation Courier Uganda, you still have the assurance that your package will reach its destination on time. We offer fast and affordable courier services countrywide and within East Africa to deliver all your special packages directly to your loved ones. Find us at Airtel House, Plot 40, Wampeo Avenue, or call 0200 711 302 or 0772 309 782. Nation Courier Uganda is a brand of Mulisa Publications Limited and is regulated by Uganda Communications Commission. Terms and conditions apply.
I'm Dr. Mirembe, and this is the NMS Health Moment. Malaria remains Uganda's leading cause of death, especially in children under 5. Yet there are ways to prevent it. Use insecticide-treated bed nets for you and your family. Pregnant women should always sleep under treated mosquito nets and take anti-malaria drugs to protect both mother and child. Getting rid of stagnant water, clearing bushes from around your house, and planting lemongrass can all reduce the number of mosquitoes nearby. Prevention is better than cure. Be responsible. Live healthy.
This health tip is brought to you by National Medical Stores with support from the Ministry of Health. NMS, passionate about your life.
The Seeds of Gold Virtual Farm Clinic is back. The Saturday Monitor brings you the 22nd Virtual Farm Clinic in Mukono, which will focus on coffee and cocoa, to be held at the National Coffee Research Institute, NACORI. Tune in to NTV on Saturday, July 24th, 2021 from 4 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Catch the show live and learn new ways of climate-smart farming. You can also get updates on Facebook and Twitter with NTV and Daily Monitor under the hashtag FarmClinic2021. Sponsored by the Chinese Embassy in Uganda, Bank of Uganda, Stanbic Bank, NSSF in partnership with NTV and NARO. Seeds of Gold, smarter farming for bumper harvests.
It doesn't matter where we are. We bring it wherever we go because space doesn't determine our expression. Our moments are golden, timeless, and enjoyed in Mpola. Because Mpola Enjoyments is about our crew, our vibe, and our beer. Mpola Enjoyments. It's a Bell Lager thing.
Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Amara. My guest tonight are Honorable Joel Ssenyonyi and Honorable Dan Chimosho. I just want to open the line so that you can be a part of this discussion, but as you try to call, I want to change gears as well. The issue of the COVID relief fund to the people. I know they were targeting about 500,000 people whom they consider to be most vulnerable, and yet if you look into UBOS statistics, there could be like over 7 million people who are actually vulnerable. Isn't it likely to be really a public relation disaster for government to give money to some and leave others, and yet a neighbor can receive and the other one doesn't, and the one who has not received is actually in a worse situation?
I think, in my view, yes, there are certainly gaps in that arrangement. And I think it is time that we develop some interministerial working relationship where we identify the categories, leave alone for this disaster. Okay, let us also know who are the rich people in Uganda, how many are they? Let's know the vulnerable. And let's grade the vulnerable. Because you see, there are people who are vulnerable without even COVID. There are people who have become vulnerable because of COVID. I mean, I think, and I think the other day I was talking to Honorable Betty, and she told me she was working with the Prime Minister's office and UBOS to come up with a database that will cluster all these categories, so that for the next, in case we get any other challenge, if I'm looking for Kamara, I know I will get Kamara at this point. He earns roughly this amount. So if we have a lockdown or any other challenge for 3 days, he will be vulnerable or he will not, he can push for, I mean, and I hope what she promised me.
But there are institutions of government like UBOS that should be having that kind of data.
Of course. I mean, now it is clear that it is not as well structured as it is supposed to be. And I hope this provides us with an opportunity, a learning lesson, or we borrow a lesson from this exact incident, and then we build on for better planning in future. Because, okay, this has happened. And of course, we must draw our eyes off this, and we learn the lessons, and then these lessons help us do better. I mean, in the near future or
Joel,
near future.
Joel, you represent Kampala and I mean Nakawa West. So what is the situation? Are some of the most vulnerable in your area receiving the money?
So 27,673 people were designated to receive this money in Nakawa division. That's Nakawa East and West combined, you know. And by the way, both, you know, the entire division has a population of nearly 400,000. But said, well, it's little money and so on, only 27,673. As of this morning, only 4,000 people had received this money out of the 27,673. You know, we are sloppy on many things. Because you see, this was meant to end the exercise 2 days ago. They pushed it to tomorrow. But here we are. We have dealt with just a quarter. Actually, much less than a quarter.
I'm going to get a testimony from the people who are calling. Let me take the very first call online, and I have a call online. Hello. Hello. Okay, if in case you are calling, please turn down the volume of your TV set so that it doesn't bring an echo to you or to us. That's how we can be able to have a good conversation. If your volume is up, you'll not be able to talk to us. You'll have an echo to yourself and to us. So my advice always is turn down. Don't turn up the volume. Okay.
Yeah, so the point I was making is we have been very sloppy on this matter. Yesterday, a lady called Hadija Nachanzi, who has been working in Nakawa Market, which falls within my constituency actually, was found dead, you know, because she's been sleeping in the market for 2 weeks. We told them sleep there and so on, but conditions are harsh and so on. But they're also troubled, you know. We didn't think these are vulnerable, but you see, they're in their markets. People going to buy are being beaten by police and the military. You can't go and so on, you know, so their stuff is, their foodstuffs and so on, it is rotting in the market. So they're very distraught, they're bothered in many respects, you know. There's a gentleman, and I saw in TV, was the first to put up the picture, a gentleman called Vincent Mwesige, also known as Kawalata. That picture made rounds, you know, who collapsed in New Park because he's hungry. I'm in touch with this gentleman. Thank God that he's now a lot better. We pray that many others don't become like him. He could have died, you know. So many people are vulnerable, and I think that we have been slow in dealing with these matters. And yet, we saw this coming. We saw this coming. Persons with disabilities, today, they stormed the Prime Minister's office, and they were there protesting for a bit of time. saying we have not been attended to, we are here, we are vulnerable, we're not eking out a living. Where is this help that you people promised? They walked from wherever they were, you know, and they're saying, we need help. So I think that Nabanja and team have, in my view, done a shambolic job thus far. Mix up of lists and so on. You know, in Kampala, for example, they decided that DSOs and PSOs were the ones going to formulate these lists. And I kept making the case. I said, look, guys, these PSOs do not know the local people and the areas better than the local leaders there. Why are you handing everything over to security and the army and so on? Because that's what it means. And that's why we are where we are. You know, even these numbers that I've just told you of Nakawa, that are just about a quarter. So I think that we have not done what we should do.
Mr. Kimosho, the securitarization of COVID response, is it a good strategy?
I mean, you see, my issue, I have no issue with security. And I think the securitarization my honorable colleague is talking about is that the lists, in what I got to understand is that the lists were generated by town clerks, of course using their structures. The PSOs and the other security guys come in to verify. And certainly, I think it does no harm to do a verification.
Actually, the town clerks were complaining that the PSOs have taken over their job.
You see what they call taking over is to ask
taking over in formulating.
I know what they call taking over.
Let me try to maybe to give in Ugandans here who are watching and perhaps they want to respond to these issues. Perhaps they have a testimony. I have a call online. Hello.
Hello, hi.
Hello, how are you? What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Aisha Namatovu.
Okay, Aisha Namatovu, you're loud and clear. You're on air.
I'm calling from Zero.
Okay, go right ahead, Aisha.
So thank you so much for that show, Patrick.
You're welcome.
I want to comment about two issues.
Yes.
One, I think what government has to do is to first of all fight corruption and also empower the people. Because ideally, if they had empowered the local people, there's no need of suffering with the health care that someone can work for themselves and be able to save their business. That's the core cause of doing, because now we are struggling with people who are poor, you're busy promoting the foreigners, you're giving them all the incentives they need. And at the end of the day, you budget all the money. I mean, the government cannot even tax people because people don't employ, they don't have what to do, just doesn't have enough money to run the economy, because all the incentives that you've been putting and from the way, with the profits they get. Just recently, I saw the finance minister, they were asking about the 18 billion that was passed by doses, and he didn't have an idea. So, the honorable NRM guy,
Dan Kimosho.
Sorry?
Dan Kimosho.
Yes. You've done a great job. At one point, there are things that are wrong, and you mentioned about this, which is a mistake. So you go back to your fellow members, kindly mind about the local people. I mean, even if you're going to be bribed, just think about the local people. At the end of the day, because nobody's your own. I mean, why don't you represent the people properly? So I'm responding to you and your fellow people. Please, whatever you're doing, mind about the local people.
Okay. Aisha, I want to thank you so much. The line was not so good, though. I want to apologize for that. At some cases, you are very loud. At some cases, the voice was so fainty. I hope Dan and Joel have made sense of what you've been trying to say. But you're saying we should be able to mind about the local people, community engagement, and stuff like that. I want to thank you so much. Let me take another call online. And please, if you can be brief, precise, and concise. And hello.
Yes, hello.
Yes, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Bobby and I'm calling from Mbarara.
Bobby in Mbarara?
Yes, in Mbarara.
Yes, you're on air, sir.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Patrick.
Okay, you're welcome.
It's a pity that at a time like this, government is really looking and blaming the private sector. Yet, provision of health services should be 100% a mandate of the central government. Honorable Danchim also talked about the thing called tax-free. I am involved with an organization and have been trying to bring some form of health things here in Uganda. I will not mention due to the big people that might be watching this. But when you go to URA and you mention the thing called tax-free, it's not there. They will tell you things like environmentalism, which is itself so high. So when Honorable Danchim also talked about tax-free food, we want to know exactly what is tax-free. Maybe URA should also come out and be very specific and say that this and this is tax-free.
All right.
But for sure, when you go out there, that thing of tax-free, you will not find it there.
Okay.
We really want that when we come out in shows like this, we will be open and truthful to Ugandans. Yes? Thank you so much, Mr. Patrick.
Thank you so much. Our caller, Bobby, calling in from Barara. I think Joel warned you that when you open the lines, Ugandans will tell you that the taxes on...
No, I'll give them information.
I will. You're going to respond to that because the question is for you, sir. Let me take another call online. Hello? Hello? Okay, I am cutting that line because you have left your TV volume high, and so it can't give us a good conversation between you and us. So I'm picking another caller. Hello?
Yes.
Good evening, sir. What's your name?
My name is Benjamin.
Benjamin.
From Tororo.
Benjamin in Tororo.
Yes, please.
You're on air. Go right ahead, sir.
First of all, I want to help Joe respond to a question said by Dan, which was directed to him. And I want to tell Dan that, yeah, very many people don't have any confidence in the government because the government has failed to help the ordinary people in a time like this when they are feeling pressed. Now, secondly, I also think that, just like Joel has said, we have misguided priorities when it comes to government
Oh, sorry about that. I'll take another caller, but at least you had a question. No, you didn't. You wanted to give information to Dan. He will be able to respond to that. I have another call online. Hello? Hello? Okay, looks like I'm having communication challenges to some of the callers tonight. I'm going to try take just one more now. Hello?
Yes, hello?
Yes, good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Kyoko. I'm calling from Mbiko.
Mbiko, your name once again, sir?
My name is Kyoko. I'm calling from Mbiko.
Okay, our caller from Mbiko, go right ahead.
Yes, sir. So we need to give a credit where it's necessary.
Okay.
My name is Kyoko. Kyoko from Mbiko. Hello?
Can you, Tumukungu from Mbiko, can you turn down the volume of your TV so that it doesn't bring you an echo?
Okay, just done.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So go right ahead. Go right ahead.
My suggestion will be,
Okay.
yes, we need to give the credit where it's necessary.
Okay.
This way, the Prime Minister has just made, at least some people have just achieved, they have got money.
Okay.
Like in our village here, people have started jubilating and they have got some money.
Okay.
So, the problem in Uganda, we don't have the correct information from our people there.
Okay. Thank you so much. Our caller there from Biko is saying we should be able also to give credit where credit is due, that some people have received some money, some people are celebrating in Mbiko and other places. Some work has been done. That's what he's trying to tell us. I'm going to take just one more caller, and then that will be it. I have a call online. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Kevin. I'm calling in from Matthew.
Steven, you're on air.
My question actually goes to Honorable Joe Ssenyonyi.
Okay.
Joe Ssenyonyi has now been recently appointed as, I think, the head of something.
Chairperson Kosase Committee of Parliament.
Yes, that's very true. He's also the honorable. He also doubles as the honorable member of. Is it Nakawa?
Yes, Nakawa West.
Nakawa West, yes. First of all, congratulations, honorable. But my biggest question goes to you. Now that you always want transition of power, and we are aiming in making sure we have a transformational change, why don't you leave some of the position to other members of the public? I'm not saying you resign from your position as the honorable member of Nakawa West, but why don't you leave the position of the caucus for another personnel, so that we understand that there's liberality and the equity in transformation into the eyes of the members of the general public? Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, our caller from, I think you said Makindye. I'm closing the calls right now. I understand my producer telling me quite a number of you would want to speak to this gentleman in the studio, but it's a question of time. It's not that I don't want you to talk. So, yeah, who's going first? Dan.
I will start by thanking the people that called in. I really take your concerns very seriously, and I appreciate the contribution. One, the gentleman says they wanted to clear some items, but they were telling them environment levy. I can predict with certainty that that must have been an ambulance. And an ambulance, if you're bringing in an older year, then certainly, whether it's an ambulance or not, the environment levy will apply. But you cannot be bringing in a CT scan, an ultrasound scan, even if it was a temperature gun, even if it was Panadol, even if anything, even if it were gloves, and they charge you tax. That is on record. He can cross-check it. He can bring that information to you, Kamara or any other. But if it was an ambulance whose year was out of range and had been banned, I mean, you know, they banned some years here. And if you're bringing that bracket, then they will subject you to environmental levy. And certainly, that is within the law. And I think it's acceptable. Because also the other guys, the countries that, the big ones, are in the habit of dumping in the name of donations to Uganda. And some of the things that they donate include ambulances that are completely out of age. And then they send them here. So you really, if I would really predict, if you hear issues of environmental levy, certainly that is the area. Two, a lady called said, Aisha, that we should mind about people. And certainly, Aisha, you can be sure that we mind about people. And wherever there are challenges, I personally will appreciate that these are challenges. But then, to mention that there are challenges without giving way forward, it is as good as not realizing there are challenges. So, wherever I realize there is a challenge, I'll always give what I think can be the way forward. But where there is some work done, I will certainly appreciate that we have done work. And the other context that I want us to look at is that when we are discussing Uganda, especially with this COVID, let's not behave as if it's an island. Our performance, yes, is measured on how we have managed as a country, but it can only be understood in the context of the region and the globe.
Okay.
And that's why I was saying, let's not try to really put people on the cross. Maybe for the things that it has failed elsewhere, and we are all learning on job, and who knows, as we master the challenge, we can emerge to be the best in this thing.
All right, Joel, your response?
I want to appreciate the callers, Aisha from Nigeria, Bobby from Barara, there was Benjamin from Tororo, somebody from Biko, Stephen Makindye. Quickly.
George, just a second. Then my brother from Toro said, many people don't have confidence in the government. That is still rhetoric. I can agree with you if you say some people. And that is natural. Disagreement. Jesus had not harmed anyone, but they crucified him. Disagreement, dissent is natural, but I can tell you, and you know, that the biggest number of Ugandans have confidence in their government.
Anyway, I'll not respond to Dan. Let me respond to these callers.
But I didn't ask you any question. Why would you respond to me?
So anyway, I'll begin with the easy one. Stephen from Makindye was saying now Ssenyonyi, so he didn't know I'm MP for where, he didn't know the position in Parliament. So he said now Ssenyonyi, you're MP for Nakawa West, you're also Kosasi chairperson. Those are too many positions for one person. Give out some. So just informing Stephen, yeah, because many times we are ignorant about certain things, and it's okay to be informed, and then we learn. Stephen, for you to be consensus chairman, you must first be an MP. So that's just for information, in case you was worried. Now you are an MP, but now you also consensus chairperson, really, give away one of them. So for information, you must first be an MP. For you to chair any committee in Parliament, you must first be an MP for you to be Speaker of Parliament, Deputy Speaker, etc., etc. Stephen, no, that was Stephen anyway, yes. There was a gentleman from Biko, whose name I didn't quite get, who was saying that let's give credit where it's due. Some people have received the money. But I'm the one who has given you information that, yes, speaking for Nakawa division where I come from, some people have received the money. But how many? Out of 27,673 that were listed to get this money, only 4,000 have received. So yes, some have received. And those 4,000 are jubilating. But how about the over 23,000? So we have not done even a quarter. So you want me to give credit, you know, in what regard exactly? Especially because this exercise should have ended 2 days ago. But then we extended up to Friday. Friday is tomorrow, it's going to come and it will go, and we shall not have attended to even a quarter. So when we point out these things, it's not because we just want to criticize. No, we are giving you facts, and by the way, these are figures of Ministry of Gender, the very people who are giving out money. They are no, I didn't go to the constituency and I began moving around. No, they're the ones who gave me that figure of 27,673, and asked them, so tell me, how many, with evidence, have you given money? And they showed me only 4,000, which is not even a quarter. So when we talk about these things, you know, it's not for the sake of it. And maybe again to respond to Dan, because you are saying, yes, giving challenges without a way forward, but that's what we have been talking about. That's why I've been saying, please, can we expedite the giving of relief to people? It's coming to 4 weeks. People are dying in their houses because of starvation, not even because of COVID. You know, let's buy what needs to be bought. PPEs, the oxygen, let's give medical workers their allowances. They are entitled to them. It is their money. Let's not take this for a joke. You see, Patrick, what's happening in South Africa is very worrying. There's riots, there's a lot of looting. The issue that ticked all of this off was the detention of former President Jacob Zuma. But it really is an excuse, you know. Even those who don't like Zuma but are poor are using this as an excuse to get something. It's COVID times, lockdown times everywhere in the world, really. And even away from the COVID and the lockdown, South Africa has always had a challenge: income inequalities. The gap between the rich and the poor is so wide it keeps growing, like it is growing here in Uganda. And I'm using that as an example so that we wake up and smell the coffee. I don't want what's happening in South Africa to happen here someday. But if we keep operating this way, it will. So the rich in South Africa are too rich, the poor are too poor. Now there's a situation, they say, let's use this as an excuse. You will see young men, you will see old women. I saw old women getting into shops looting. She's taking something to go and feed her grandchildren. Is it justifiable? Of course not. Is it a good thing? No. But what has been the precipitant of this? And that's what we need to address. So even in these COVID times, we need to be extremely careful, because even those who ordinarily would not be vulnerable are now vulnerable because they are at home, they are not working. If this continues, they're going to begin breaking into people's houses because they are starving at home. Their children are looking them in the face. Daddy is something to eat.
Okay.
What is that man going to do?
Gentlemen, our time is almost out. So, Dan, what's going to be your parting shot?
Thank you very much, Patrick and Honorable Ssenyonyi, for this great show. I really want to appeal to Ugandans that let's take COVID more serious and let's take it as a personal responsibility. Apparently, Kamara people are still hiding in bars, taking their drinks, and some of them, they will call you, Chimosho, we are here very happy, send us more money so that we can drink more. And you're asking them, but it is COVID time. And if it is Munyankore, they will tell you, for us, we drank our milk, COVID will not catch us. If it's Mjiga, they will tell us we ate a lot of sweet potatoes, COVID will not catch us. But I want to appeal to you that COVID will catch everyone if we do not do what we are supposed to do, irrespective of which meal you grow up taking, because it has killed many across Europe, across America, It is in Africa. We must take it as our personal responsibility. And of course, government is not seated. Even the COVID we are talking about, we got reports of the different doses that we are receiving as a country. I think by July, August, we are receiving different staggered doses. And then we also informed that they paid for 18 million doses through UNICEF, COVAX, and we are optimistic we'll get more. And in this recent allocation, I think we'll buy more, and I would appeal to whoever is doing it to expedite it so that we can vaccinate more people, develop immunity, and then we can open the economy and people go back to their business.
Thank you, Dan. Joel, your parting shot.
Patrick, I usually like to say that we should major on majors and minor on minors. That's very important for times such as this. You know, most of the points I've been making, we are pointing to the issue of prioritization. I was watching the news today. I'm seeing young people being arrested and, you know, sent to jail, remand, and so on for announcing Mr. Museveni dead. Now, is it a good thing to announce anybody dead if you don't have facts about it? No. But surely, should we be running after young people who are announcing Mr. Museveni dead? Well, if you say, you know, you come out and the world sees you're actually not dead, that should not be a big issue. Let's go and arrest people who are being mentioned by the Auditor General's report, who have speculated COVID funds. People who were meant to procure posho and they procured bad posho and bad beans. It is in the Auditor General's report. Let's go after. Those are the people we should be going after. Not young people on social media announcing this one dead. You just come out and say, I'm alive, and the business continues. So can we tweak our priorities? You know, can we deliver this COVID relief? You know, Nabanja and Hati Nabanja might be there swelling, and it is called Nabanja money. It is not your money, Nabanja, Prime Minister. It is taxpayers' money. Please give it to those who deserve to get it. Already we've been making the point that it's little and so on, you know, and that's a debate for another day. But even the little is not reaching those that it should reach. Panange, let's be serious. Some of these things, they don't require rocket science.
Honorable, you've contradicted yourself.
How?
We measure as first and mine as last. And now you're here condemning Nabanja for her movement. That is a minor. The issue is, has she done what
it's because you probably had sticks in your ears.
Has she given what she's supposed to give?
And that's the point. She has not. She has not. Nabanja has not given money to those that should be getting. I've given you just the example of Nakawa. Okay. It could be worse elsewhere. So let's do what you're supposed to do. Because you see, at the close of this whole session, in Nakawa alone, you've not given even a quarter of those that are supposed to get. That's being very sloppy. And that's why I'm saying stop sweating around, do the work that you're supposed to do. Let's buy PPEs for doctors and medical workers. You know, let's give them their allowances. That's a very critical issue. We have avoided it and we keep running away from it and we say, no, government is keeping for you the money for you until they keeping yours for you.
All right, Joel.
Let's major on majors and minor on minor.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen, Joel and Dan. I want to thank you so much for your time, but most of all, I want to appreciate your insights on these issues. And for those of you who have been a part of this program, I want to thank you for your great company. I know we have gone about 27 days into the lockdown, and if you look at the positivity rate coming down from 20% to around 8.2%, that gives us a glimmer of hope that we will get there. It may not be in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but somewhere we shall get there. Good night, and God bless you, Uganda.